has happened. I am king now, and I have a lot of responsibilities, not only to my family, but to the kingdom of Atlantis. And I still don't maybe believe in myself as much as I should. There's a lot of duties that I have that it's just extremely challenging, and then being a father is very challenging, and a husband. So you get to see his everyday life, which is fun, and it's one of the things that is one of the better parts of the script that I love the most, is because you just get to see him being a dad, which I like being a dad and a husband, and so it's fun to see him and all the little silly moments. I feel like I've been with this character long enough to know what fans and myself want and what I'd like to do as an actor and what I'd like to see Arthur go through. So after we finished the first one, I quickly dove into a treatment with my partner, Thomas Sibbett, and I just had all these ideas that I wanted to do, and, it was pretty spooky. Obviously, the polar ice caps will be melting, and so I feel like it was really beautiful that was an extremely important thing to me, and obviously to James, but it was a really cool vehicle to use this other black magic and Atlan and Kordax against each other, and really mirror the two of us, Orm and Arthur. But I also just loved all the environmental issues and the fact that, speaking at the UN and, just doing that in real life. And that's the impactful thing about playing this character, is you get to reach out to a lot of children and people, and we can speed it up and show you what's happening and use black magic or use our superhero powers to kind of show what's at stake. It's very, very close. Nicole Kidman is wonderful. She's fantastic. I love her. She has one of the best work ethics I've ever seen. So talented, is so creative and free, and it's amazing to watch. And we have wonderful scenes together, and she just raises the bar. Temuera is he's always been one of my idols. I've always wanted to play my dad. He's that brown skin, man I looked up to when I was little, being an Islander, and I just love having him around. It wasn't long enough, to tell you the truth, so I had a solid 2 weeks with the guys, with them. Dolph is amazing, and just so many beautiful stories, and he's so easy to be around. I got to spend more time with him this film, which was great. He's super supportive, and he's really collaborative, and we have a really strong relationship now, especially having the first one under our belt, and with the success of it all, and me being able to have a voice in the second one, where I really wanted to lend my voice to, and really, him take it back to the next level with David. And his imaginations. I talked to him about a lot, because, coming from that horror background, which I don't even know that side of him. I mean, there's aspects of this in the film, which is great, and even in the first one. And also, to be that kind of a storyteller, you have to have that suspense. So to be able to, do that through, your cinematography and your suspense and your shots. And so I don't have a drop of that. And so it's always fun to watch him make something on this level. And I'm always like, I don't know how you're doing it, man. He's like, and he's keeping it together. They're big, and he makes massive, massive movies, and it blows me away. And he does it, he holds it in. If it's really, really hard for him, he makes it pretty effortless. Even when we're doing the eye line, they show me, what the concepts are of what we're doing underwater, and the worlds that you're going to build, and the characters you're going to be around, and the colors. It's just that big, beautiful movie. You just got to see it in the theater. Same thing Dune was. It was just huge. You can't watch it on your phone. You can on your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th time, but I'm like, showing up there, it just makes you feel like a kid again. And you're gonna smile and giggle and laugh. And I think there's a lot of comedy in this one, and there's a lot of heart. There's a lot of moving moments in here that, it's what you love. It's got everything in it. I mean, there's just so much action, but a lot more comedy in this one. So I'm looking to move that way. Let's laugh more.
We last saw Black Manta being rescued by Dr. Shin, played by Randall Park. And since then, they've been creating a crew. You know, Black Manta still has this mission of finding Aquaman, destroying Aquaman. He still has the hate, the passion, and the rage, but he needs more help. So he spent a lot of time, a lot of resources building together and putting together a badass crew consisting of Dr. Shin. He's got someone new named Stingray and a whole army of new cats. And he's traveling all over the globe in order to find more Atlantean technology because he has to rebuild his suit. So that's been Black Manta's mission since the last time you saw him. He hasn't stopped. I imagine that he hasn't rested. And the movie picks up in Antarctica. Black Manta, you know, and in the first film, he was just a guy solo on a mission on his own. Well, this time, I think he realizes that he can't do it all on his own and that he needs a team as well. So he has Dr. Shin, who is a researcher and a scientist, and he also has a new character called Stingray. And Stingray is just... she's pretty militant. You know, she can give commands. She speaks multiple languages, and she's good with taking the orders and executing. So they have that. They have that captain and sergeant relationship, and it works out pretty cool. Since the first film, you know. A lot has transpired, but mostly I think Black Manta, he's been worn down. You know, this need for vengeance is still on his mind. It's something that haunts him night and day. And so I think we find a character in the second film that's looking for rest. He's looking for, you know, he wants to give this up. He's ready for this to be over, and the only way that he can do that is by destroying Aquaman. And so I think that we find a character who's been obsessive about this mission, which makes him a perfect vessel for Kodak's own obsession as well. I think Black Manta has some of the best like gadgets and vehicles, you know, in the film. In this one, I get to drive something called the Octobot, which is, you know, the cool thing about this is a lot of the designs of our machinery is based on real aquatic sea life, you know, and this one is based on an octopus. You know, it's this round round tank that it's this round tank that Black Manta gets to get in, and he has his levers and his control, and it's all old, right? It's all like technology that's been 3,000 years old, but it's been repurposed, and so he's sort of just scavenging and taking what he has and just taking his determination and his will and his smarts and repurposing things to fit this new world. So it's all ancient technology, but it's really, really cool because it's sort of, you know, gives it this retro feel, whereas the Atlantis that we know, everything is new and shiny and the technology is years advanced, but our technology is 3,000 years old. It's still pretty advanced, but it's all rinky-dink and it's like slapped together and put together by, you know, piecemeal. But it just fits the ancient aesthetic of going back and taking something from 3,000 years ago, repurposing it for today, and then using it for your mission. James really elevated the scale of our vehicles, of this world, you know. This time around in the film, the Manta ship, in this film is maybe the size of 3 or 4 football fields. You know, he talks about it being something like the Millennium Falcon. It's huge. There's a whole world inside of there. We have the Manta's, his own room, and I mean, it's just massive. We got this sonic cannon on there. All of the soldiers, he has separate rooms in the control stations. It's an entire universe all on this huge submersive ship. I mean, the scale of it is hard to comprehend. In a story where you have 2 titans clashing against each other, you know, for reasons of family values and protecting family. I think once you bring children into a situation like that, it just really raises the stakes and, elevates the circumstances, because now we're talking about legacy, and protecting a legacy, and family values. And, a king is protecting the heir to the throne. But then, there's so many new themes that come into play with legacy and with family and with love and with fatherhood, and about how far one is willing to go for vengeance or to protect, the family. So, I think it's just really, once you bring family into play, then, ego becomes ego becomes secondary. I think a lot of times you have like good versus bad, or you have the good guys and the bad guys. There's a lot of ego at play. But once you put family into it, then it becomes a story about morality, I think. In this film, because Black Manta has the trident, he also has, he has the strength and power just by holding on to the trident. So, so with our new suit, we didn't need as many gadgets and like gizmos and gadgets and shields and things like that, because Black Manta is, along with the trident, is what makes the suit powerful. So we went, with a very classic design, that's basically the black silhouette, the black wetsuit with the big silver helmet, and it's very, very retro. If you look at some of the gadgets and some of the vehicles, everything is old. Everything is 3,000 years old. And so we imagine that, what would the suit look like if the suit was also influenced by, some of the older technology or some of the older versions of Black Manta. And that's what we have, this very sleek, soft, muscle wetsuit, that's easy to move in, and the suit won't be destroyed because it's the man inside of the suit. So it just makes it, I think, for a better fight and a more sleek design. In this film, there's always a battle between the surface dwellers and the Atlanteans, and that very much parallels our real world with this idea of, us versus them. And in the same way that never gets us anywhere positively in our own real world, that never suits us well in the world of Aquaman also. So, I think it's pretty cool to still be, making a big, exciting film like this one, while also talking about some of the issues that, we're faced with in the real world. And, one of them being this idea of being divided never ever gets us anywhere. And it's not until we're able to find unity, that we're able to, defeat some of the larger evils in the world. This is the type of film that should absolutely be viewed in the theater. I mean, with the worlds and the technology and the scale, the colors, the sound, there's just so many elements that are fit to be seen on as big a screen as possible, with the fights, the explosion, the story, everything about this world is just heightened in scale. And so I think the best way to see that is on the biggest screen possible. And I can't wait to see it myself. This time around, James is sort of like an architect. He's sort of like a tactician. He knows the world. He's very sharp. But I see a James that's more laser focused on creating his vision. He's still, playful, and he's still having a good time. But there's something about this film, where he has this laser focus, and I'm really interested in seeing the execution of it. But James is cool. I think he's really found this world that lets him, use his creativity as best he can. I think he's excellent with world building. He's excellent with story and detail. He's working on something really, really, really cool. Like that's even grander than what we can see. I can tell. I just see his motor, running. And I'm excited for him.
The thing about Orm is, yeah, he's violent, he's angry, he's all of that, but everything that he's ever done, even in the first film, came out of a love and the safety of his country and his people. And because they were being polluted and destroyed. So he wants to solve the problem. Maybe not the nicest way to solve the problem, but that's what he wanted to do. So there's always been honor with Orm. There's always been heart with Orm. It's just finding its way out through all these different methods is not the most socially responsible. Look, coming back to Orm, being able to play this guy again is fantastic. It's a gift. I love it. I love him. I love what I get to do in this movie, even more so than the first film, because again, I think we get to show a little humanity, and even if you're the butt of a joke, you're still part of a joke. I think that's been really, really fun to play, and to see this group of actors and are so eclectic and different, and getting to share the screen with some of these guys is just fantastic. What I love about this movie, and I think it can reach an even a wider audience, is the humor of this film, and all those little moments that I love that James put in there. Like, oh, you guys think it's funny when Topo, the octopus, plays the drums? Well, guess what? He's going to be even bigger in this movie. Like, he'll have an even bigger role. So I think there's some moments that that shows that like we're in on the joke, even for people that are like, that's ridiculous. Even though he's from the comics, maybe people don't know that. But those moments to me where he's just like that, where he doesn't run from it, he embraces it and says, yeah, we're going to have that. Look, you come back for a sequel, you want to make it bigger and better and funnier and darker and more emotional, all those things that you achieve to do. So with our stunts, you want them even bigger and bolder. So, and I try to do that anyway. If there's something that if it works better to see my face, see me do it, I really, really want to do as much as I can. But it beats us all up. So thank God each of us has at least 2 stunt doubles. Well, Orm and Arthur are complete opposites. So that's, one, it's fun to play, hopefully fun to watch. But it also gives us somewhere to go. So anytime Arthur offhandedly calls him brother or bro, we can, Orm hates that. Orm doesn't consider him that. He considers him that, but I think that there's clearly a lot of pain involved with Orm. What Aquaman has become, it's so much of Jason. It's, and that's a good thing. That's why it works. It's not like all of a sudden the day ends and he's completely different and takes off the beard. That's not a negative thing. That's what he's able to do is look, it's very difficult to be relaxed and even versions of yourself on camera. It's very difficult, more difficult than people imagine. It's true. It's much easier to hide behind a funny costume and funny wig and an accent and all that. It's hard to just be exposed. And I think there's a sentiment of that with Jason, in that he has, and I say that because in this script particularly, he had a real hand in shaping it. So this is something that he feels very passionate about. This story is something that he feels very passionate about. So with that, you get to see a lot of him. And I think that's why he's a good pivot point for all of us, because he's able to bring out the sides of himself that he wants to show on screen. That's why I love working with James, because he's incredibly passionate about it always has been the guy that after he shoots, he goes and edits, whether it's a tiny little movie or whether it's this movie. He's in the editing. I don't know when he sleeps. He does that. And And it reflects in the movies because he's so detailed, and that attention to detail and that passion and that heart. I mean, that's what you want. It's what you want in a coworker. It's certainly what you want in a director, and that's what you want in a friend. If we're gonna do a big old movie, let's at least make it have some meaning. When you're dealing with the oceans, we have to be responsible for what we're putting in it. So whether you're an Atlantean or a surface dweller, so. If that affects even one person, then we've done our job. A movie like this, you want to see on the big screen. You don't want to miss this. I mean, part of the glory of this movie is the spectacle and the color, and the visuals for this movie are going to be absolutely insane. So this is a movie that for sure you want to go see in a theater with a group of people, and I think it's going to be a great family movie.
We opened Aquaman 2 3 years since the last movie, and now Arthur is the king of Atlantis. He's rightfully now sitting on the throne of Atlantis, and he's still trying to work out how to adjust to this new lifestyle of being a king to an entire nation, and he's trying to navigate the political whirl of it all. And meanwhile, Black Manta, with the help of Dr. Stephen Shin, has been secretly trying to find Atlantean artifacts or Atlantean equipment to fix his Black Manta power suit that he used in the first movie that got ruined in the fight with Arthur. And so he's trying to find, spare parts to sort of fix his suit. This movie, in a lot of ways, is about the relationship between Arthur and Orm, right? We always felt that would be a really interesting dynamic to kind of see Arthur, who basically came in, overthrew Orm's government, took over his job, and meanwhile, Orm is rotting in a prison somewhere. And so naturally, for Orm, there's a lot of resentment towards his brother who came, over and basically just ruined his life. But Arthur ultimately needs Orm's help, and Orm also ultimately needs Arthur's help. And so they reluctantly go on this journey together. And on this journey, they get to know each other. So, it's that classic fish out of water story between these two characters trying to learn. So Arthur's trying to learn more about the world of Atlantis that Orm is imparting in a lot of ways, like how to be a king to Atlantis. And meanwhile, Arthur's teaching Orm how to be a surface dweller and ultimately, how to be a better human being, and, it's just the fun that comes out of their antagonism, how they kind of get along. They're both kind of hot-headed characters, and how they sort of have to learn to get along with each other to overcome this big evil that they're trying to stop. We're sort of taking world events and we're sort of playing into that. Obviously, we're finding sort of, fun storybook sort of plotting to kind of get us into that world, but it is a bigger theme that we want to touch upon because we feel it's very relevant. The world is changing dramatically as we're seeing. And I feel like this movie, it would be a crime if we didn't go there because this film really, I feel like Aquaman really is the one superhero that can kind of touch on the theme of, global warming, the rise of the ocean, the heating of the planet, constant climate change, because it affects the world that he lives in, right? And he's trying to stop this from happening. Now we get to see how, he brings that Jason Momoa-ness, if you will, to this role now as a king, right? In the first movie, he's still trying to find his place in the world. Well, now he has found his place in the world, and it's how he sort of juggle his responsibility as the ruler of this powerful kingdom with domestic bliss, right? So like with all the stuff, because in this movie, he has a kid now. Arthur Jr. is a couple of months old in this. Like, he's married to Temuera. And so part of the fun is just seeing how he juggles sort of domestic everyday life, like changing the diapers on the baby and feeding the baby and looking after this kid and, navigating a messy house and doing house chores with, like ruling this massive nation, right? Like, he's sitting on his throne and, he's dealing with all these politicians that are trying to, go under him, trying to undermine his ruling because they don't quite trust him, because he's from the surface. And I think it's that juxtapositioning between his two worlds that I think, makes it really fun. In this one, we're embracing this new technology that allows me to basically put the actor into into this booth with like hundreds of cameras kind of capturing the actors' performances, but photograph them and then take those images and put it back onto a 3D character of themselves, and then that way it allows us to sort of to make the actors swim, do whatever we kind of need them to do, right? Fight and swim, talk, whatever, right? But using the actors' performances, photographing those performances and letting those performances drive the animation. This is a different approach. Great thing about working with Jason is you know exactly who the guy is. And he actually makes the process of writing his character very easy because, as David and myself would work away, shaping the story and writing trying to work out how his character fits in within the story, it was very easy to kind of like think and look back and kind of imagine how Jason would play it. And a lot of that informs how we wrote his character, knowing specifically how Jason would do certain things or what he wouldn't do. And I think that helped tremendously how to shape his character and ultimately how to kind of grow his character as well. It's really trying to find the balance between all the visual effects that we have going on with practical effects and as much try to keep like a lot of the fights and stunt as grounded and as real as we can, but because these characters are superheroes, and so everything that they do heightened because they have superpowers, and so we would do a lot of classic old-fashioned riggings and people smashing into crates and smashing into things. All that stuff is always very fun to shoot. It was great to work with the actors again, to work with the whole cast. It's, we had so much fun making the first movie. And so for all of us, we knew we wanted to come back and continue kind of what we did on the first film, which is to kind of, do Aquaman 2, to build on the world, to carry on the story, to build on the characters of Arthur and Orm and all of that. I just want to say to to the fans of Aquaman and especially the fans of the comic book that I stayed very true to that world, that I really, I'm a genuine fan of the Aquaman comic book, of his origin, where he came from, and I really respect, the origin and the spirit of who he was and what he was designed to be. And I tried to kind of lean into that even more with this film. I mean, I built this movie, I designed every aspect, every detail of this film for the biggest screen. When I would work on the visual effects, just watching some effects on my computer screen, I'd be like, okay, cool. And then when we'd finish the final stuff that I then projected back for me to watch on the big screen theater, the big screen, I would be blown away by all the details that I would not see if I was watching them just solely on my little TV screen. And so it's, the world is very magical, it's very heightened, and I think it speaks to the experience of it. Like a lot of great people spend a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to create this movie, to create the world, and I would love for the audience to experience it the way it was intended to be experienced, on the largest screen possible.